Why is it we never hear anyone from Gen Z say, I'm going to learn the business from top to bottom. I'm going to bust my ass. I'm going to sponge off those older people who've been there for a long time, those management types. They know they're doing, they know the business inside out. I'm just going to learn everything. Nobody ever says that. It's always that, God, I just wish I could do less. I'm so burned out. I hate my job. My company doesn't believe in the things I believe in. I want to work for a company that believes in the environment.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah, and I'm going to quit quietly. I'm going to quit loudly. Why is it every story is like that?
So, but when you were I might be asking the wrong person, but when you were that age, did you ever feel that way? Like, why can't I? This guy doesn't do shit. I work harder.
Greatest generation, my ass.
Oh, I think everybody thinks that when they go to work somewhere. They're like, I remember starting in radio, too, and feeling like, why is that guy in middays? He sucks.
Right.
Or, there are always those things, those little mysteries, and, there's usually a reason for it, and there's usually some kind of
politics,
miniature entitlement or politics, and eventually those things. Nobody can survive not doing a good job forever. I mean, maybe for a while. But this idea that I never can recall being in a place. I knew people like this, but I wasn't the guy to be like, I know how to run this place. Everyone should work from home. We should do this. We should do that. No, I just wanted to do my job well and move up in what I was doing. I never concerned myself like I knew people. I
sound like a real
people.
big team player.
No, it's really not that much of a team player. It's more like I want to do my job well, so I benefit from it.
Right.
I'm not worried about everybody else, and I definitely don't want to tell the owner how to do the business because I worked in cases where the owner was on the site. So I could have gotten up in his face, I guess, and said, why do we play this? Why do we play that? Why do we play this? And honestly, there were always people that did that too, like, why don't we play more of this band? Why don't we play more of that band? Now, I say it all the time now, but I'm not really working for anybody, so I'm more generally disappointed in the radio industry for the shitty music they play. But now it just seems like people are so comfortable going into a place, they're 22 years old, and they want to tell the boss what he's doing wrong.
Well, and Drew, that's kind of my pointer. I'm trying to figure out, are people that different, or is the environment really that different?
Oh, I think people are different. I think Gen Z is unique. And there's a story today about Gen Z that I thought was very telling and maybe helped to explain a lot of this. And it's that... And again, it's a shitty story about Gen Z.
I was going to say, what's this one? Because I also found a Gen Z story today.
Yeah, I think I know the one you're talking about, and you can talk about that in a minute too. But it's that this makes sense. It talks about their extremely high levels, as in unprecedented levels of narcissism in very young people.
Oh, boy.
So they don't really see other viewpoints of other people as really mattering at all. It's all about them. And then they describe kids as young as 11, 12, and 13-year-olds who are developing narcissistic tendencies, self-centeredness, jealousy, entitlement, all commonly found in teens and preteens that post large number of selfies and photos. And they talk about how they develop awareness of their social media appearance. And when they say 11, 12, and 13, that's more unusual, but it's more like 14, 15, 16, 17. And rather than their actual appearance, a lot of these kids are using filters.
Yeah.
And they're using... there's all kinds of ways. Facetune is another one to present false images of themselves because they want to present their best self, which isn't their real self.
Many of these kids got their first social media when they were, 12 years old or something like that. And you pop up at the time, Snapchat, which was the biggest one. And what do you know? When you turn it around and you take your selfies, you can add any filter and they make you look beautiful. They take out any blemishes. And so I've seen it so many times on Facebook or Twitter where somebody posts a picture of themselves and it's clear to me, you're using filters. Stop it.
Also, as Dr. Roche has told me, really young people are going in for cosmetic surgery and not just, like a nose job. Because I understand if somebody has somebody's got a nose they don't like and it just bothers them every day. What's wrong with fixing it?
Different?
I have no problem with that. It's always weird for everybody else, but generally in the long run, that person feels better about themselves. So what the hell?
You got yourself a nose job. Did you get some plastic surgery?
But we're talking about 25-year-olds getting Botox for wrinkles.
Right. Wow. And they're,
And fillers. What? I mean, I have to believe that's not going to be a great idea in the long run, but they're so concerned with their social media appearance that they feel they have to do everything they can to look their best. So, let's see. These were the averages. They said most students/kids spend a third of their day on devices, as in an iPad or a phone, mostly phones, and 3 hours of that time is on social media. And this is at the expense of developing social skills like face-to-face conversation.
True, those become their social skills. That's how they learn how to socialize.
Right, which is why they don't have any social skills.
Then they try to do a face-to-face or in a new work environment, and it doesn't work out because they were brought up.
Yeah, they don't really know how to interact with groups. They don't know how to compromise. They don't know how to, not get their way and just be okay with it.
They're used to getting every word out because it's in response to a comment, so they can write a paragraph and the next person can write a paragraph back. But when you're face to face, you're screaming over each other. You don't get to say everything.
So they were talking about the lack of face-to-face and group dynamics, which teenagers used to have frequently. You loved your peer group. Yep. You lived for your peer group because that was, we didn't have devices. We didn't have video games.
You like to get out of the house and be with your friends.
Yeah, hang out with your friends and bust each other's balls and all that kind of stuff. That's not really commonplace with kids now. But the example they gave about the lack of social skills, they point out that, these people entering the workplace, how many of them are unhappy, which is huge numbers. And that story that came out last week that 52% of Gen Z is burned out at work. What? So anyway, they were giving examples of, what we're talking about, for example, and they said, the best example they gave, I thought, was that not just little kids, although little kids are really bad, but older kids are really bad about interrupting adults without even thinking about it. Like two adults are talking to each other and they just go, hey, Dad, but Mom, I need, and wait a second, I'm talking to so-and-so. What are you doing?
What age should that stop?
Well, my daughter does have 4-year-old. 4.
Yeah.
Kids are awful. No, kids are horrible. Kids don't have it. They don't have the focus.
But we go, Gemma, I'm talking to your mother. Hang on.
That's how they have to learn, though. I mean, they have to learn that. But don't get upset about Gemma yet. She's only 4. But yeah, I know it's kind of cute when they do that because they think what is in their world is so fucking important.
It's so not.
Aw. But we're talking about, like 14, 15-year-olds who think what's on their mind is worth breaking up that adult conversation every time because it's more important because they're narcissists. They're budding narcissists. So anyway, the result of all this is often self-absorption, overly self-conscious, and overly self-confident at the same time. Well, that's a terrible combination.
Yeah.
Somebody who's overly self-confident and overly self-conscious. Being overly self-conscious causes boundaries to fall apart. Or, I'm sorry, being overly self-confident can cause boundaries to fall apart. I'm smarter. I know better. You need to respect me. And they reference, too, that a lot of kids, if you ask them, and when I say kids, I'm talking 16, 17, 15, they'll sort of imply that they really run their house as much as their parents, that they're kind of on equal ground with their parents. Like if the parents have to make an important decision, they actually have something to say about it. And it could be really inappropriate things that they feel they have something to add, or because they just they think they're inside their own head. And they think what they're thinking is always as important as what anyone else is thinking. That's how a narcissist thinks. Now, the weird thing about it is the story goes on to talk about how this all sounds really great for the narcissistic teen, who just, it's all about them. But they also said that many of them are not happy.
No, because they have all the factors. They're self-confident, but self-conscious.
They need validation all the time, and so
you, sweetheart.
It's almost like there's a giant hole in them that cannot be filled with enough validation. So they go to the workplace, and we hear this all the time from young people in the workplace that no one praises me.
That reminds me, my second grade teacher, Miss Passarella, always said, life's not fair in the big city. Like we'd want to say something like, she's like, I don't give a shit. Doesn't matter. It's never going to matter.
Well, that's what Rose Fellhauer used to tell Mark. Life's not always fair. No, it's not. Life is not always fair, and you need to get over stuff.
Get used to it.
But that, and there have been a lot of workplaces and management types who have done writings, and they reference that, books have written about this, about managing younger people now, is that you really need to praise them because they really need praise.
Stop adapting to them. Then that's becoming the norm. Like, they need to adapt to the environment they're going into.
That's always what I thought would happen, is that they'd get their shit crushed a little bit in the workplace, and then they'd adjust.
Yeah, but I think the workplace is in fear of that voice on social media, them leaving and going, my company was so bad, and then other people pile on, and
They mentioned that in the story.
and they're in trouble.
That when they leave jobs, that there is a fear of them because they're sort of wild cards. They may go on social media and just trash the shit out of you and do it in a very unfair manner because they came out on the losing end in their job. So these people, naturally, these managers don't want to be in some social media post that goes viral about what a fuck face they were. So it's really just a problem all around. But let's see, being asked to do things. Oh, yeah, being asked to do things they don't want to do. These are the narcissistic younger people. Which are, again, growing in numbers. Being asked to do things they don't want to do is excruciatingly difficult for them because they've grown up spending gobs of their time doing things they love, like an addiction, which is phones, video games, social media, selfies. They love this stuff. These adults that play video games for hours and hours and hours, and they'll do it day after day after day. That's not a very productive way to spend your time. I realize it's fun, but, you will hear from, wives or maybe husbands too who say, oh my God, my husband comes home and plays video games for hours and hours and hours. But, in a lot of cases, they grew up doing that. They love playing those games. They love that screen. They love doing it. Now, those ones, that's not necessarily the people that are narcissists. They just really have a strong addiction to video games, just like we're all addicted to our phones. I'm as bad as anyone else. I feel awful about how much time I spend on my phone. I know it's wrong. I don't. Do you guys spend that much time on your phone?
Well, I have the app thing that tells me it compares weeks to weeks.
Yeah, mine does too.
And I got to tell you, when I went on that vacation,
yeah,
you're on it a lot less.
No.
Oh, more?
Opposite. Because I realized...
Because you have more free time.
Well, there was a lot of the vacation that I spent just watching the girls while my wife was...
got to be on your phone for that.
And so, I think I just kind of had the phone on the entire time, maybe checking my fantasy baseball or doing something. But I try to track it. I try to keep it down. But so much of the phone is part of what we do. And what I mean by that is I'm always scouring, looking for the latest trends.
Like an excuse.
I know, it is. Trust me, I don't like how much I do use my phone because it will tell me you used your phone 1.4 hours more this week than you did last week, and it's like, oh.
No,
I know it hurts.
Oh.
I've seen it, and I go, oh my God, really? And then when I think about it, I go, yeah, really, you did.
I was on a lot.
Did. And then you see it's up the next week, and you're like, oh my God.
But you got to understand, this is what I always try to defend. I always try to defend this because it's no longer that, what if it was that your pastime was reading magazines and newspapers? Well, you're essentially doing the exact same thing. You're just doing it on this device. Now, I don't play with my phone and play games on it, but what I do is I have a pretty strict...
I play games.
I don't. I know you have FIFA. I know that was a big, big problem with you at Zotford, but I don't play it anymore. And I used to have Simpsons Tapped Out, which was a Simpsons game that Mark got me onto, kind of like how Mark got you on FIFA. And I used to put money into that every once in a while, like I'm going to throw $5 in here. But I would spend an hour just going over my town that I created in Simpsonville.
Well, this is what my error, I think, really is I'm not socializing enough. I'm not going out enough. I'm not doing stuff with other people, other human beings, because I'm in my screen. It's not good for me, and I need to do something about it. I really do.
I know you don't go out that often, but go to dinner and watch all the people waiting for their table. If you just watch everyone that's waiting to be seated,
they're on their phones
almost
too.
Every fucking one of them is on their phone. I notice it all the time.
Drew.
And guess what? I'm going on my phone too. I'm like, oh.
Why don't you go drive to that restaurant and look at the drivers, and half of those motherfuckers are on their phone too.
At red lights.
Right.
I go,
It's a
Well, it's hard
pandemic.
to sit down at a dinner too and not just set your phone there too.
Yep.
Like just in case I need this. I mean, who knows? Some emergency could come up. I'm a 63-year-old person with no responsibilities. Who knows? Something really important could come up.
Someone's gonna call. Or someone's gonna text.
So what happened to me the last couple times I saw that average is like, oh, it's terrible. And sometimes it's at night. It's like 9 o'clock. Maybe the Tigers game is wrapping up, and I'm just like, I'm in my phone. I'm watching the baseball game. I'm doing both. And so I'll go, okay, put this fucking phone down, you asshole, and watch something on TV. There's stuff on TV.
Do that
like, that's a
instead.
big improvement.
But
I should be watching a movie, or I should be reading a book, which is a lot the same thing, really.
But you're trying to do them all at once. You're basically trying to say, oh, I should be watching a movie and reading a book at the same time. Like, that doesn't work either. But if you're watching a movie, it's hard to read a book, but it's easy to just thumb through your phone.